So, Lost Caverns of Ixalan gave us a new secret powerful Phyrexian. Whether destroying all your opponent's permanents or smashing with an army of tokens, this deck is insane. Hey everyone, Hex here, and today I'm thrilled to share a deck that's been an absolute blast for me. A Golgari Phyrexian creation that's all about pushing the boundaries of tribal synergies. Forget the meta, this one is all about having a good time. So, Roaming Throne, as we all know, adds additional triggers to a creature type of your choice. I've used warriors, dinosaurs, gnomes, werewolves and bats, but today it's the turn of Phyrexians, and boy do they work well. Let's kick things off though with a personal favourite combo in this deck, the Phyrexian Obliterator with Bushwhack. The 4-drop creature is a 5/5 trampler, and it becomes a force of nature when combined with Roaming Throne. Imagine hitting them with our Bushwhack and suddenly they're sacrificing double the permanents. Dinosaurs with their hefty power make perfect targets for Obliterators, and I've faced a lot of them today. It's pure chaos and I love it. Our second synergy in this deck involves Incubate tokens. Elvish Vatkeeper, a 3/3 for 3, incubates for 2 when it ETBs. Now throw Roaming Throne into the mix and you've got yourself a very pushed 3-mana uncommon. On top of this, I'm playing Glissa Herald of Predation, which is our finisher in this deck. This card lets us go wild as we get to combat, where you get to choose one from Incubate 2 twice, transform all Incubator tokens you control, or give all Phyrexians you control first strike and death touch until end of turn. So again, the throne this time allows us to pick twice, stack your triggers correctly, and you can transform all your tokens and then just give them all menace. If this card has been around a while, there is going to be a small army of very hard to block tokens hitting potentially for lethal. So to support our grand plan, we are playing Grafted Butcher in the 2-drop slot. It grants Phyrexians menace, and the Lord effect is a sweet +1/+1 boost to basically all our creatures. It's a great card to drop just before combat. So let's talk some mid-game dominance. We've got Sheoldred, Gix and Glissa. There are powerhouses for drawing cards, gaining life and dealing with pesky ossifications. When you add extra triggers to these creatures, you're hopefully in a pretty dominating position here. Other cards we have include some ramp with Scrapgorger, some removal in Cut Down and Go for the Throats, 26 lands, and that is the deck. So I initially ran this deck in Abzan, hence the alternatives that I want to highlight, but when removing white, it boosted my success quite a lot. Quadruple black for the Obliterator combo then became a bit of a breeze, which I was very happy about. I will say that Phyrexian Sensor is a fun card to play on your deck, but with the opponents running Phyrexians anyway in Sheoldreds and Skrells, it did feel a little bit like a vanilla 3/3 on quite a few occasions. But feel free to tweak the deck based on your style and the meta that you're facing. The possibilities are endless these days, it seems, with the longer rotation. So I really love this deck, and I am eager to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Also, don't forget to smash that subscribe button, then go ahead and drop a like on the video. Your incredible support means the world to this channel, and I'll catch you again next time. Alright then, on the draw, with a perfectly acceptable hand for a Phyrexian deck. So we have our Obliterator, so that would be nice, especially if we can get this Roaming Throne down. Just want to find some lands over the next couple of turns. Opponent with a Rockfall Veil. Gotta suggest maybe dinosaurs, although that's a Gala Greeters. And we do kind of find a land in our Scrapgorger, which is an Phyrexian that also taps for a land. Opponent with Jetmir's Garden though, so it doesn't look like they're playing dinosaurs. We'll play a Gix though, as we didn't find another land, so we could have used our Bushwhack to find a land there, but absolutely I'm not going to use that card for any other reason than to combo off with the Obliterator here. Opponent with a Pugnacious Hammerskull, so maybe they are on dinos, and there is our land we needed. Going to go for the Roaming Throne here. This will give us a opportunity next turn if we draw a land and our Scrapgorger is still on the battlefield to go pretty crazy with their Hammerskull. So this deck is definitely suited to play against dinosaur decks. Their increased power makes the Obliterator's ability just so sweet. Even though the opponent here is creating a bit of treasure that they can sacrifice if they need to. Could drop the Obliterator here, but I'm just going to get rid of Dracosaur and going to still just keep playing until we find a land to use. We will eat that Dracosaur from the graveyard though. Butcher does give our Phyrexians here menace, but I don't really want to lose either creature, so Not going to attack. We're definitely just holding out for a land here to pair with our Bushwhack and Obliterator. Put it with a T-Rex. Okay. So they've quite quickly got to the mana to cast that. We go down to 11 and we're going to get 4 Toxic. And there is Llanowar Waste. Alright, so we are 100% dropping our Obliterator here. So Obliterator is going to be a 6/6 because of the Butcher. We'll Bushwhack the Obliterator and their Hammerskull. They are going to have to sacrifice 12 permanents here. Their whole board. We are going to, fingers crossed, win this game, and opponent scoops it up. Alright, on the play. And our hand looks very nice here. So we're going to start off with the tap land so that we have cut down available for next turn. Opponent with Bloodfell Caves. And I'm going to play the Glade again. We don't actually have another land to play. I don't want to play Cavern. I don't want to give away what we're doing straight away. We have cut down and we can just take care of this scoundrel that they've just played. So this is going to give the game away that we're playing Phyrexians, and we will drop Glissa here. A card that they're pretty much going to have to deal with, otherwise we could get so much value from this quite quickly. Maybe using the Bushwhack next turn to find us our 4th land. I'm excited to see if I can get this other Glissa onto the battlefield. Opponent though with a big score. Okay. And they pass the turn. Going to attack first, see if we draw a land. Which we do, Cavern of Souls. We'll name Phyrexian. And we will drop Roaming Throne. So Roaming Throne technically isn't a Phyrexian until it hits the battlefield. So you've got to be a little bit careful if you're playing against control. It is a Golem, and it can be countered. Opponent does have a Carnosaur that they are channeling to take care of our Glissa though. They play a Harvester. So I'm not really sure what they're up against. Just some good old Rakdos mid-range here. Play Gix and attack with the Throne. We would have drawn 2 cards had the Throne connected, but opponent decided to chump. And I'm just going to Bushwhack this time for a Swamp. Seen as they blocked. Didn't think they were going to block, to be honest. Brass's Tunnel Grinder, hey. Okay. A card I'm very familiar with. I played it in my last video, so check that out. Bringing back as many gnomes as we can from our graveyard. I absolutely love that deck. But this is going to be a sweet turn for us. We get to play Glissa, Herald of Predation here. And the Roaming Throne is going to enable this, or us to pick twice from its abilities. And we are going to incubate 2 twice. So that is 4 tokens ready for next turn. Plus attacking, gets 4 triggers off Gix, can draw 4 cards. And although we lose 4 life, we're not particularly under much pressure, and we are threatening lethal next turn. The Glissa Herald of Predation is actually going to transform all of our 2/2s. We do have Grafted Butcher on our hand, which will also make them 3/3s, as it is a Lord effect. But opponent with Lich Knight's Conquest, I appreciate that card. Bringing back Toxrill and Duskmangler, okay. Sure, I mean, I still think we might have enough damage next turn anyway. Yeah, because Toxrill's sort of slug counter here didn't affect our creatures that we're about to animate. Drop the Butcher though before combat, so everything's going to get +1/+1. Make sure you stack your triggers correctly so the Incubate tokens hit the battlefield and then the First Strike and Death Touch occurs. Means they're going to lose their board anyway, but yeah, we've definitely got enough damage here, so lovely game there against a pretty cool Reanimate deck. Okay, on the draw here, hand looks very reasonable. We will, keep this one. Opponent with a Restless Anchorage, so... Survivor of Korlos. Alright, they're a soldier deck. You know, we have 3 Roaming Thrones in our hand. If we can get these onto the battlefield, this is going to be a crazy game. But in the meantime, we'll play our 2/2 Grafted Butcher pretty much as a blocker for their 1/1, to be honest. Right, 1000 Moon Crackshot for our opponent. Okay. So it's a slightly different take on soldiers, it looks like, but they can tap our creatures if they need to. Maybe they're a tapping deck, I'm not sure. Siege Veteran for our opponent here, and we're just going to shoot that. Guess we'll just cut down the Siege Veteran as it is only a 2-2. Opponent is going to attack, though, with their 2-2 themselves, and I will block that. I will block because it is a cheap way for us to remove their creature, and I think our game plan is just to stick around for as long as possible and then swamp them with our big finishers. Gonna go for the Throat the 1-1 unless they play anything else. Like a Yoshian Technician, which is a Lord effect for soldiers. We will shoot that, and yeah, just attacking us with a 1-1. So after all of this, we're still on 19 life, and now we can start playing our Roaming Thrones, naming Phyrexian. See how this goes, because this has Ward 2, okay, opponent with Fateful Absence, but it looks like it's going to take up their whole turn, and we're going to end up getting a card out of that. But again, just hitting us with a 1-1 is fine. Bushwhack, well, we'll go for another Throne. These are, at the end of the day, also 4/4s. They're pretty difficult to get through, especially for a soldier deck that doesn't have flying yet. Another Fateful Absence for them, okay. And yeah, keep poking us with our 1-1. Well, Deja Vu, we're just going to play Roaming Throne again. I don't know if the Fateful Absence are better or worse than the Get Losts. Guess it depends who you're playing against, but I'm not sure. I prefer Get Lost over Fateful Absence. The map tokens must be done at sorcery speed. We did find a Obliterator there, so I'm glad we've been holding back on this Bushwhack. Dropping our Scrapgorger here means that next turn, well, we find a land anyway. Next turn, we can Obliterator and Bushwhack. Hopefully they play a big old creature now, and Adeline would be lovely. Something that means that we can just basically wipe their whole board. Roaming Throne's going to double the triggers on the Obliterator here. Valiant Veteran, okay, they're all 3/3s. And I think now's the time to do it. Yeah, we'll drop the Obliterator. We'll fight one of their 3/3s. They're going to have to sacrifice 6 permanents. See if they know how the Obliterator and the Roaming Throne work together, because they have to sacrifice 3 and then the other trigger resolves. So maybe they'll sacrifice 3, not realizing that they're going to have to sacrifice another 3. They're not out of it yet, especially if they have a load of low-cost creatures in the hand. They scoop it up anyway, fair enough. Alright, on the draw. Very keepable hand. Yeah, I like this one, and we get to play our Restless Cottage turn 1. So, like I mentioned in the sort of deck tech part, this was originally an Abzan deck, and it was a fun deck to play, but I really wanted to lean more onto the Obliterator combo, and I felt that the 4 black needed meant that we would have to go down either green or white. Needed green for Bushwhack, so unfortunately we had to let go of the white. But there are some really cool cards to play. Opponent is taking their time on their turns here, but they are there. They are flicking onto their cards, and they wait right to the end to soul partition our Glissa here. But yeah, feel free to add white if that is your thing. I do have a white-black Phyrexian deck as well, which is pretty nice. But I really like this Glissa Herald of Predation with Roaming Throne. And in a game like this that looks like we're up against control, having a load of tokens all hitting pretty much at instant speed in attacks at some point are going to nullify any sorcery speed board wipes our opponent might have. They would need a Farewell, I think, to deal with all the Incubate tokens. So that's our game plan, not put so much on the battlefield, keep stuff in reserve and wait for the opportunity to strike here against our opponent. It is Ossification on our Grafted Butcher. Well, that is fine by me. Not an issue for us there. As long as we keep hitting our land drops and keep playing spells, then they're going to have to always be dealing with our things. We'll play this Glissa from Exile here. Cost 5, but it's still a pretty decent card to have on the battlefield. I do like, when I build decks, I like to build them with control matches in mind. So I'm always feel pretty comfortable against control as such. Opponent with Timeless Lotus. Okay, so why do they need quite so much mana, I guess? That is the question. We will see as this game goes on. Tried to activate the cottage there, but we don't actually have green mana. That is the problem with quite a black heavy deck. And the Courtyard and Cavern of Souls. But getting Roaming Throne onto the battlefield was nice there. That was an opportunity because Cavern of Souls named Phyrexian, which means that they could have countered the Roaming Throne, but they spent their time playing Timeless Lotus. And it doesn't look like they are taking care of my throne with their Mightstone or Wheatstone. No respect for my Roaming Throne unless they have removal. But we'll drop Glitter, Herald of Predation here, and if they let us go to attacks, we're going to create 4 2/2s. And they do. Okay, so although we need to transform these at some point, we have these in reserve, really. Okay, I Ganjo on our Roaming Throne, so that's the removal they had. And we'll just drop a land, and we will say go. So I don't think we can win next turn, even with Restless Cottage. We need something more. We can do, what, like 15, 16 damage, I think. Playing Gix now, we could draw a whole ton of cards if we wanted to. But I'm not going to activate my tokens just yet. I'm going to keep incubating until we have enough that we can just win instantaneously. If we activated all the tokens there, attack the opponent down to, what, like 4 or 5, and then they sunfall, it's going to be pretty difficult for us to keep up with that, especially as we don't really have very good cards in our hand. So if they sunfall now, at least we've got a load of tokens available. They need to deal with Glissa here, Herald of Predation. He is going to kill them. They have to do it before attacks. We have a Grafted Butcher in our hand, which is going to be a Lord effect for everything. We will play that. Yeah, we'll play that. And we can always manually transform 3 of our tokens if we need to. But yeah, we go to attacks, and I'm just going to transform everything and whack the opponent for quite a lot of damage there. So, nice little game there against control. Alright, on the draw. And yeah, we've got a good one here. Opponent with a Rockfall Vale, so Gruul land. And it is a Intrepid Paleontologist pointing towards dinosaurs. Okay, well, we have Phyrexian Obliterator on our hand, which is such a good card in the face of dinosaurs. You wouldn't believe, but we'd like to find a Bushwhack along the way. Opponent with Invasion of Zendikar, so they're ramping pretty quickly here. Maybe they might be ramping a little bit too quick for us. We find a Cavern of Souls, or sorry, we find a Cut Down. So we can play the Vatkeeper here, but I think I need to cut down this Paleontologist, stop them being on 7 mana for next turn. And then probably play the Roaming Throne next turn. That will enable a massive obliteration if we manage to block one of their creatures or fight one of their creatures. And they find a Hammer Skull. Okay, that's fine by me. So what do we want? We want Bushwhack. We want a Bushwhack. We want a... I guess we could have played the Obliterator there, which might have stopped them attacking. We'll see. They have 7 mana anyway. Okay, they do have a Tali, sure. Okay, no Bushwhack went to our exile there. I think that was a Scrapgorger from our end. They find a Galter and Maverin. Okay, well, if we find this Bushwhack, we're going to make them sacrifice 24 permanents on this coming turn. I don't think they realise how close they are to dying. But we draw a cut down, and I don't think that's going to be enough. We'll drop the Obliterator here, and I guess we'll just take care of their 1/1. Sure. We'll see how they do. They might not attack, you never know. They might make a mistake and try and kill our Obliterator with a damage spell or something. We'll see. They have taken a very long time on this turn so far, so I wonder if this Obliterator has put them off. That's making me wonder, had we played it a turn earlier, what would have happened? They're using their Chomp on our Roaming Throne. Well, they have lethal, so they just need to attack, to be honest. But yeah, turn has gone on for a while, and they finally get in there with everyone. I wonder if they were just a little bit worried about how the Obliterator works with blocking their creatures before the damage goes through, but the damage is going to hit us before they have to sacrifice anything. So we're going to lose this game, but I enjoyed this one. They got off to a very good start, and they got a decent RNG off of Vitali. But we were always only just one card away from winning that one. Okay, on the play. We will keep this hand. We have our Obliterator, Scrapgorger, and a Shelly here. So a little bit slow for us. But we do get to play Scrapgorger. This is going to be a turn 3 Obliterator or Sheoldred. Depends what we're up against. There's Gala Greeters again. You know, I've seen more Gala Greeters today than I have for the past few months, to be honest. It was always a decent card, but it was always so vulnerable to early removal. But I guess maybe it works well because if you do have removal, like we have our Go for the Throat here, I would rather not use it on the Gala Greeters. But it is a good card to get into your big spells quickly for them. But a turn 3 Sheoldred from us is pretty strong. I'll attack with Sheoldred. If they want to block, we will blow out their whole creatures there. And I'm going to hold open Go for the Throat and our Mirrex token. So opponent down to 12 already. Obstinate Baloth is going to put them up to 16. And they're putting counters on their Gala Greeters, getting it out of cut down range. But they could attack here. They choose not to. We'll make a Mirrex token though. And we find a cut down. Okay, well, we've got to attack with Sheoldred. Depending on how they block, we could almost take out their entire board here. They throw 3 creatures in front of Shelly. Okay, well, this is fine, because we'll just cut down the Dread Knight here. Then Shelly can deal with the Baloth. Had they put the Gala Greeters in front of it as well, we would have shot the Gala Greeters with a Go for the Throat. And, yeah, we'll just hold open our Go for the Throat, pass the turn, and say go. Under no real pressure here, although we're not necessarily pressuring their life total. I don't just want to play an Obliterator and then just Go for the Throat it. They go for their Dread Knight, actually draw a card and lose a life. They're going to lose an extra 2 life from Sheoldred there, so they're going to go down to 11. And they play the creature, but this time we will go for the Throat this Gala Greeters. They're getting way too much value out of that one. And they don't have any decent blocks for our Shelly. So we find a Bushwhack. Okay, well, we can play the Obliterator here. Bushwhack there, 3-2. No Roaming Throne for us. But they're going to have to get rid of 3 permanents here. 3 lands are going to have to go. And opponent scoops it up. No surprises.